Right, let's get straight into this, guys, for some absolutely crucial pre-exam tips. First of all then, where are the easy marks in a paper? Now, in general, the easy marks are going to be at the start. In particular, on that foundation paper, the first 3 questions are going to be where most of the easier marks are. So really take your time on these. Don't rush through them, even though they're little 1 markers, tick boxes, take your time, read the question carefully and think about what you're doing, because that's where you're going to get most of your marks in the paper. Okay, then we go on to look at the calculations. You really need to be trying these. Some people hate calculations, but they can be the easiest marks to get on the paper. In your exam, you are given a calculator. Okay, use it. It's so important that you do this. The amount of times that I'm marking papers and people have made very simple calculation errors. Literally, it can be things like 3 times 50 or something, and they've put 450. There's all kinds of crazy stuff happens when people get into an exam room. So use the calculator and make sure you're checking your work with that. Use the equation sheet as well. Now, the thing with the equation sheet is not all of the equations are on there. There are some, and in the exam paper, it will say to you, use the equation sheet for this question. If the equation's on the equation sheet, the exam paper will say use the equation sheet. If it says that, look on the equation sheet. Some questions will ask you to recall from your own memory an equation. Now, if you've got a question like that, I want you to have a go at it, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that in just a second. Hopefully, some of you have remembered some of those from your revision, but I'm going to show you that you can still attempt those questions. And show your workings. That's really important as well. So let's have a look at some example calculations. Now, here is one from a paper here. Now, write down the equation that links power, time, and work done. There are 3 terms there: power, time, and work done. Now, some of you will sit there right now and you will know the equation that links those 3 terms. Some of you will be thinking, I've got no idea. I haven't learned this, okay? Even if you have not learned this, I want you to see here we've got 4 marks available, and these are not marks that you can afford to just leave blank. So if it says what's the equation that links these, you are going to write down, and what I suggest you do is take the first one. So I'm going to say power equals, and then you're going to you've just got the other 2, and you're going to say it's either going to be times or divide. So you've got time and work done. In this instance, the correct way is work done divided by time. Okay, that's the correct one for here. But if you have no idea and you guessed work done times by time, or time times by work done, or something like that, I wouldn't be too concerned with that. It's obviously not going to get you the mark, but it's better to guess it than it is to leave it completely blank. If you guess, you've got a chance of getting it right. Ideally, you want to obviously learn it. Now, using that equation, for the next question gets us 3 marks, and you can see here how important it is to learn them, because there's 4 easy marks if you know the equation. So what I'm now going to do, I need to make work done the subject, so we can use an equation triangle. I've got work done is on the top of the fraction, so it's on top of the triangle, power times by time. So I'm going to say work done equals power times by time, and then I'm just going to say I've got a power output of 200 watts. So I'm going to put 200 under the power, and a time of 1,800 seconds, 1,800, and I'm going to times these 2 together, and we're going to get 360,000. Now, I've been very bad there and not done it on a calculator, so I hope I've not made a silly mistake there. 360,000 joules. So nice, straightforward calculation, and those 3 marks are really easy given that you have a calculator. They're easy if you've learnt the equation from the previous one. If you haven't learned the equation, guess it and try and get the marks. Okay, times the 2 numbers together or divide them by each other, you've got a good chance of getting it right. There's occasionally a question, an equation where you might have something a bit more complicated, like kinetic energy, but most of the time it's going to be times or divide those 2 numbers together. So have a really good go at that. In the foundation paper, a lot of the questions won't have this question B here, and it will just give you the equation anyway. So if it does that, use the equation that's given to you. A quick note for higher tier students is sometimes you get a calculation where you have 5 or 6 marks. If there are 5 or 6 marks, you're definitely going to have to do a couple of things. It might be that there's a conversion that you need to do, or more likely you're going to have to do 2 calculations. So look at the information you've got. In this particular one here, okay, it's an electricity calculation. I've got a power, okay, that's a power of 5.75 watts. I've got a potential difference of 230 volts, and I'm looking for resistance. Now, those of you who have learnt your equations, you will know that there isn't one in there that links P, V, and R, okay? However, there is an equation that links power, potential difference, and current, and then there is also an equation that links resistance, potential difference, and current. So if you can use that first equation there, and you can say that the current is the power divided by potential difference, so it's going to be 5.75 divided by 230. That's going to give me my current. You're going to put that into your calculator, work out what it is, and then you can say the resistance is going to be the potential difference, 230, the potential difference divided by the current, divided by whatever you answer there, you can put into there. So it's a 2-step calculation. So just be aware that if there's 5 or 6 marks, it's likely it's going to be a 2-step calculation, so be aware of that. You very often get these with energy, where you have to calculate one type of energy and then you can link it to another. So just be careful with those. Help the examiners give you marks, okay? Don't rush in your writing. If they can't read it, you aren't going to get any marks, so make sure it's legible. Use a sharp pencil for graphs and diagrams. If you're plotting a graph, you need to be very precise. Use a ruler, sharp pencil, and just make it easy for the examiners to give you marks, okay? Finally, or almost finally, how to check your work, okay? Now, most people get to the end and they say, right, I'm going to go and check my work now because the teachers tell me to check the work. And they read through what they've done and they go, oh yeah, I remember doing that one was fine. I remember doing that one, oh, I can't do that one. No, I couldn't do it then, still can't do it. And you skim through your paper and you don't actually do anything, okay? What you need to do is these things. First of all, have you copied the numbers correctly? So here's an answer that I put in. I've made a deliberate mistake here, but I've looked and I thought, yeah, my equation is fine. I've checked that. That is correct from the equation sheet, okay? I'm checking my numbers. Let's check these, okay? So 80, yeah, 20 to 100 degrees, that's 80, yeah, fine with that. 4,200, yeah, that's fine. 50, oh, hang on a second. That's supposed to be 0.5. Very easy mistake to make. So that needed to be 0.5 there, which means when I retype this into my calculator, there's going to be 2 less zeros on my answer. That would have cost me a few marks there. Okay, scan through for prefixes. So that's things like milli, kilo, that you might need to convert. The only one that keeps kilo is mass. Everything else you want to get rid of the kilo. And finally, retyping into your calculator. Physically type this calculation into your calculator again and check that you haven't accidentally pressed too many zeros, or you've pressed a plus instead of a minus, or something crazy like that, okay? Easy mistakes, and you would not know that without properly checking, okay? Attempt every question, guys. So like I said, you might hate calculations, but the marks are so easy, and even if you got no idea, sometimes just timesing or dividing the numbers available is going to get, you've got a chance of getting it right. You never want to leave a calculation blank because you've got a calculator there. I mean, anyone that leaves multiple choice questions blank is, there's no more to say about that. And method questions, you might think you don't know methods, or you don't know 6 marks worth of information. But if you've got something where you've got to measure a volume of a liquid, you're going to use a measuring cylinder. Just anything that you've got, write down a piece of equipment and what you're going to measure with that piece of equipment. A couple of things like that will get you some marks, and it might even trigger your brain into what's going to come next in that question. Really good luck, guys. You're all fantastic, and I'm confident that you're going to do exceptionally well in this paper.